What's going on? It's your boy Bowie here. And I'm back with another reaction video. This particular video is about the devastating impact of cameos in Mortal Kombat 1. Ooh. And it's by LS Vision, someone whom I'm subscribed to, as you can see. Let's hear what LS Vision has to say about cameos. Now, I'm gonna skip some of these things.
Ladies and gents, it's your boy Lou Streets back with some more LSV. For those of you
Shout
who
out.
may have checked out my video that I put out earlier today, I'm using Reptile with this certain cameo. Shout out to the homie Nick O4499 who tunes into my streams. I appreciate it. He leaves a comment on the video saying this: in your streams, I think you said you didn't want to use Scorpion with Reptile. Are you sticking with this duo or picking another cameo after you master Reptile more? Now, a lot of you guys know in my videos, I like to always give you some type of original content and give you that type of value. So I try to avoid doing what everybody else is doing. Even in Mortal Kombat 11, I would always make my own variations and try to find my own style of play. Now, some characters have to be used a certain way because that's just the way that they're designed, but most of the time I try to do my own thing. Mortal Kombat 1 is no different when it comes to...
Now, let me talk about that. There are definitely strengths and weaknesses to this approach. Damn, I should have brought this motherfucker over here. Let me go back in time. Yeah. I love Klondike Forever, in case y'all don't know. But anyway, there are strengths and weaknesses to the approach of trying to be original at all costs. You know what I'm saying? Particularly in fighting games, because what happens is when you encounter somebody that's playing an original style and they've mastered that style, it's very difficult to counteract it because you have no experience with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can remember the first time in MK1 where I fought against a Li Mei that had the Kung Lao Lo hat paired with her. And this was a zoning, keep away Li Mei. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know you could play her like that. That's fucking cool. That's fucking cool. And I almost lost the set. You know what I'm saying? I had to adapt and, you know, find my way around it. And the only reason that something like that happened is because I had no frame of reference as to how to use strategies against that particular cameo pairing, or that, you know, character pairing, I should say. And so that's good. It's very good to be original. However, on the flip side, being original at all costs can have the effect of making it more likely that you're not playing at an optimal level or playing the character optimally. So for instance, I play Sub-Zero, you know. Sub-Zero has tried and true cameos that the vast majority of Sub-Zero players are going to swear by. And there's a list of them, you know what I'm saying? But let's suppose you insist on using Sub-Zero with, shit, who could I put Sub with that nobody uses right now? Let's say you do Sub Scorpion. You know, Sub Scorpion is great. You know, I can definitely see Sub Scorpion. Well, now it's better because Scorpion has a safe overhead now, so that helps out a lot. That way Sub doesn't have to use his overhead that's not safe. Haven't even labbed that, but hey, that might be a more viable cameo pairing now. But using Scorpion with Sub-Zero is not going to be nearly as effective as using Sonya with him, or using Chameleon, or using Serena, or one of his more tried and true cameo pairings. Now, there's always that chance that this weird cameo might work for your character just for the sake of being different, but it's more likely that it's not going to work well. You know, tried and true paths are tried and true for a reason. And so just because you're using a tried and true character path does not mean that you have to play them in a tried and true fashion. You know, you can differentiate, you know, your character not necessarily just with, oh, this is the cameo I'm using and it's different, but you can differentiate them with your own play style, your own your gameplay choices, your use of strings and pokes and stuff like that. That's what determines a style, you know. But let's continue.
The cameos and original characters, I try to come up with obscure pairings to make very entertaining videos. And that's how we got to this conclusion, because when I was labbing yesterday with Reptile, this is the issue that I ran into. So everybody has
First and
their own
foremost,
style of play, right?
shout out
Some
to
people
you
like
for
combo
labbing.
extensions and big damage. Some people like frame traps and setups. Some people like mix-ups. And some people like zoning with counter-zoning abilities with their cameo. As you all know in LSV, we going for the sauce at all times. I want the big damage and the rare combo that I came up with on my own. So of course we like to do things like this.
Now, what he just said was important. He's giving you his list of priorities. He's saying outright, I want the big sauce damage and the combos, right? So he wants big damage. He wants, I think later in the video, he says freestyle play. So he wants to be able to get these conversions freely, it sounds like, you know, if I'm being charitable to his description of what he wants, you know what I'm saying? And I guess he wants the sauce so that it's as swaggy and entertaining as possible. Okay. So there's a particular set of characteristics that he's looking for in a cameo pairing. And so you have to think of that ahead of time. And you got to realize that not every cameo is going to offer that pairing. You know what I'm saying? You might only get that with one pairing, you know what I'm saying? But if you're lucky, you can get it with two. And by the way, people like to lionize the variation system of MKX and MK11 now, but it was this way with those games too. Like in MKX, it was very rare that all three of a character's variations were good enough to be played on their own. It was much more common for either one or two of them to be just outright weaker than the others. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'll use Sub-Zero. For the longest time in MKX, Grandmaster was the only variation worth a damn. You know what I'm saying? Because Unbreakable spent a long time being the very worst variation in the game. And Cryomancer was only good for killing scrubs online. And they had to overhaul that particular variation twice. Okay? And even with those buffs to both Unbreakable and Cryomancer, neither one of them were still better than Grandmaster. You see what I'm saying? So Sub-Zero at best had a single, well, not one, because Sonic Fox used Cryomancer. Excuse me. But at best, Sub-Zero had two viable variations, which was good, but it took till the end of the game's life for that to happen. You see what I'm saying? And so this is not just a cameo problem. This is a variations problem. But let's continue.
So that sauce I had with Sonya was cool, but I didn't want to necessarily use her because I used her with Sub-Zero in the beta. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna find somebody else who can do some type of launcher stuff. So then I went and got Jax. So when it came to Jax, my frustration was, okay, if I do the corner combo, I can't call out fatal blow because he's still on screen. And if I do it mid-screen, he doesn't make it across in time because he runs over. So who do I use now? So then I decided, based on the Kung Lao and Goro meta, how Goro can give you those plus frames and keep his pressure going while extending combos, I was like, I'm gonna try out Goro with Reptile and see if we can duplicate that. So as I'm going through it, I'm realizing like, damn, I want to do air juggle combos, but it's only certain cameos that can do that. And while it is some extension that can happen on the ground, if a character has a stance, it makes things a little bit more tricky and you feel a little more boxed in like this.
So first, let me chime in. Yo,
That's
pause,
nice
son. My bad. Yeah. So wait a minute. Let's examine what's going on here in a little bit more depth. So, LS Vision is describing his process of trying to find a new cameo to pair with Reptile, and he found a cameo that was similar to Scorpion in Sonya, but he didn't want to use her because he was already using her with Sub-Zero, or used her with Sub in the beta. But as far as I know, you don't play Sub-Zero in this game. I mean, maybe he does. I have no idea. But he doesn't want to use Sonya for some arbitrary reason. I mean, they're important to him, but they're arbitrary to the rest of us. So, okay, he's not using Sonya. Then he's not, he decided to pair him with Jax. And he saw that he could get cornered things with Jax, but not mid-screen stuff. But I couldn't help but notice that he was using sort of the exact same combo paths with Reptile, and still trying to just fit in Jax where another cameo would go. Now, I have not labbed that combination. I don't even play Reptile, so I'm not going to presume to speak out of my ass about that character and how he should be played or what have you. But I will say that when you're looking for different cameos, chances are your combo routes are going to be completely different. And you're going to have to reimagine and re-envision how you use certain combos and things, because you're not going to get that same utility out of strings or what have you that you once did, and you have to weigh how important that is to you. So for instance, I'll speak from the perspective of Sub-Zero. So one of the reasons that I use Serena over Sonya is because even though both of those characters can get high or relatively high damage, they can crack into the low 40s and things, Serena does so with one rep of her cameo, whereas Sonya has to use two. You know what I'm saying? So you got to use the Sonya call twice to get that damage, and I'm not with that right there. You know what I'm saying? However, here's the thing. With Serena, I'm giving up the fact that I have an armored launcher now, because Sonya makes his slide, his EX slide, a combo launcher. That's pretty fucking powerful. You know what I'm saying? That's very, very strong. And I'm giving that up. Also, Sub-Zero gives up being able to use back 3-4 as a meterless combo launcher. This double hitting low that's safe and advances and can be used to stagger the shit out of people. That's something that Serena gives up. You know what I'm saying? So that's a combo route that's not even available to me when I'm using Serena. And then, so for him, he's using Jax and Reptile, but I'm pretty sure that Reptile Jax has, you know, probably set up similar to what Katana has, where Katana can do a block string, call out the Jax ground pound, and at the end of the block string, she can be in the air, jail the opponent into the unblockable ground pound, and it's a guaranteed damage setup. That's strong. That closes out rounds. You know what I'm saying? And so you're ignoring all that other stuff, not even exploring any of that other potential sauce that's there with Reptile and Jax, because you're wedded to the combos that you got with Scorpion. You see what I'm saying? So you really have to, you know, get a true assessment of what you're losing. Also, Jax gives Reptile a lot more health, 100 more health. So he's at 110%, basically. That's not a small deal, especially in chip out situations where it came down to you and your opponent at the wire. That could be the difference between winning and losing a match. So there's that to consider. You know what I'm saying? So I would just say that in this particular instance, it's much wiser to consider the entire totality of what a cameo offers a character, rather than, oh, well, I want these things, and so if I don't get these 3 things or these 4 things or this one thing, then that cameo's a wash for that character. Maybe not. Maybe the thing that you actually get is still very powerful, but you know, that doesn't necessarily fit your playstyle, but it's still really powerful and still a worthy cameo addition, even if it's not for you. You see what I'm saying? And I, you know, trust me, I say this as a high damage lover myself. That's why I play Serena with sub, because I like the high damage. I like that I ain't got to spend no meter to get that damage neither. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, let's continue.
Combo with Trimmer for 40%, but the problem is if I get like a straight hit or something like that, there's no way for me to extend that combo because he's already on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he's referring to the fact that Tremor is a summon. These are all summon cameos.
Stance property. So when it comes to that, it's certain freestyle things you can't do in the air that you can do with Scorpion, which makes him a lot more.
So what he's talking about here is the difference between cameos being ambushes versus summons. So obviously Scorpion and Sonya are examples of ambush cameos where you can just throw them out whenever. And I do think the game could benefit from more of those, where you could just use them. But as Chameleon has demonstrated, or as Kung Lao has demonstrated, you can have a really powerful cameo move that is a summon. Kung Lao hat is a summon. If that low hat of Kung Lao's was an ambush, oh my fucking god. Y'all would really hate that character. If low hat was an ambush, motherfuckers would be pulling out they goddamn hair follicles. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's bad enough that you got this hat that comes back real fast and it dominates the screen. Could you imagine if you were doing some sort of air juggle and the opponent just called it out and you didn't even know it was there? And then by the time you get back on the ground, here come this hat hitting your ass on wake up? No, you wouldn't want that. Hell nah. People don't want that smoke. So, yeah. It's about some of them being summons versus them being ambushes.
More viable. Then it made me start thinking about the roster in general and why certain cameos get picked way more than others. So the thing is, when I was gonna make my initial Reptile team, I hadn't checked out Trimmer's cameos yet, but I was gonna make it a Trimmer Reptile team. But then look at this. Every time I call a cameo, Reptile goes into a stance. Even with this move right here, which seems like it would be like a combo extender, kind of similar to Scorpion's fire breath in the air, he does a stance with it. So I can't do something as simple as this.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
Up cameo right there,
hold on. So, as various viewers pointed out in his comment section, Tremor's cameos can be made to be ambushes, but you got to spend the entire bar to do it. You got to set it up, you know. And so, in that way, Tremor's much more of a big brain cameo where you have to plan what you're going to do. You got to be in, you know, the right variation of Tremor and then switch over to the one that you're going to use as an ambush and use it at the right time. And so, to that end, you actually can do the thing that you're... what am I saying? You actually can do the thing that you're saying that Tremor can't do. You actually can do that, but it's much more deliberate and much more planned out. Whereas with Scorpion, you can just throw it out there just as you see it. You know what I'm saying?
And this is the problem with having the stance cameos versus the ones that can move around freely, which kind of dictates which teams that you have to use. Even if it's something like mix, you can't get a launch out of it. Like, let's pretend that, so the back 3-1, you see that second animation, how he slaps down, it's a mid. But let's pretend like that's an overhead. So even if that was an overhead and I did into back cameo, you can't even get anything off of it because, like, Trimmer does a hard knockdown. So any
you need to look at Tremor in Reiko or Tremor in Sub-Zero. There are some nasty ass setups where people are doing exactly what I'm saying. They'll switch into one of Tremor's other, I think they switch into Crystalline, if I'm not mistaken, when they're not ready to use the Tremor assist. And then when Sub-Zero gets a hit or Reiko gets a hit, then they call in the ambush version of that same low move that you talking about, LS, and it's ugly. It's ugly as shit. Tremor as a cameo changed what, you know, Reiko's main cameo was, because Reiko used to just exclusively be paired with Darius, right? That was the most competitively viable team. Now it's Tremor, for exactly the reason that I stated. So you can find something with Reptile that does a similar thing, but you gotta look into it for real. You gotta lab this shit.
With something like that, you can't get anything off of it, and it's a stance, so you can only use it on the ground. Versus if I go get Scorpion, versus like Scorpion, we know that back 3-1 is low mid, right? And so he's blocking low, but you call out Scorpion overhead, now we get a full combo out of that, you know what I'm saying? With Trimmer, you just can't do certain things like this. And even if you do open them up with that mix, get a full combo with Scorpion. With Trimmer, you can't do that, so it makes you feel like, well, damn, why would I not pick Scorpion versus the other characters when Scorpion gives me mix and he gives me in-air combos as well?
Well, again, to that point, it's all about what it is that you prioritize from your cameo pairing. I prioritize damage and setup, or damage and zoning, and that's why I pick Sub-Zero with Serena. But maybe that particular matchup doesn't call for that. Maybe the zoning's not going to help me because I'm already fighting a zoner. So then perhaps I might want a character or a cameo that helps me get in with Sub-Zero more easily. So instead of me using Serena, maybe I now use Chameleon with Sub. You see what I'm saying? And so now I have the ability to be more varied with my play style. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be very honest about what it is that you are looking for in your cameo pairings, but you also have to be open enough to say, okay, well, I'm not going to get all of this with this other cameo pairing, but I do get this other tool that I didn't have before. Because now I have setups, or now I have safe wake up, or now I have, you know, this other combo route that Scorpion didn't give me. You see what I'm saying? So that's important too.
So you're pretty much getting roughly a guaranteed 40% in the air off of a cameo and a bar spin, and then also he has setups off his regular strings.
Right. We understand this. We understand this.
Just taking a look at the cameos, what I found was that I almost felt obligated to play Scorpion. Like, other cameos may have certain elements that I need, but they don't have everything that I need. If I want to play freely and flow around, I can use Scorpion perfect with Reptile. I can get damage with Serena, but I can't get no mix. I can get damage with Mataro with the teleport combo, but I can't get no mix. I can get a little bit of mix with Tremor, but I can't get anything off of it because it's hard knockdown. So then you start looking around.
See, but again, he's still thinking in a more narrow mindset of, look, everything I want is mix, damage, and sauce or whatever. And it doesn't have to be that. It can be anything. And you might not, that might not be everything that you need in every single match. Because maybe you're fighting a character that you don't want next to you. So you ain't trying to mix them because you ain't even trying to be near them to begin with. You know what I'm saying? And so having another cameo pairing that is also potent but plays completely differently, you know, that's something that should be on the table as well. That's something that, you know, every player of a character needs to be aware of. Now, I will say this, there are definitely optimal cameo pairings. And I think that's what he's trying to say, is that Scorpion is Reptile's optimal cameo pairing. But here's the thing about that. Honeybee doesn't just use Scorpion with Reptile. Honeybee be using all kind of shit with Reptile. And he's got his favorites. And Scorpion, I know, is one of them. But there's definitely other cameos besides Scorpion that he plays. And Honeybee is, you know, he's a tournament level player. Not just tournament level. He is a tournament winner. I mean, check out his credentials in MKX. Check out his credentials in Injustice 2. You know what I'm saying? Like, the boy's insane. So if you can't learn from Honeybee, I don't know what to tell you. This is not directed at LS, but I'm just saying, like, you can learn from Honeybee.
Around like, well, man, if certain characters are so dependent on certain cameos to play the style that I want to play, and that cameo fits with a lot of different characters, it almost feels like, why have cameos at all when only certain ones are viable for certain things? Everybody should be able to do a little bit of everything and make it viable for you to play with them. I get that you're going to have some variation with some more combo-based cameos and some more setup-based cameos, but it shouldn't feel like, man, I got Reptile, I have no logical reason to play Darius with him. Or I got Reptile, I have no logical reason to play Tremor with him, because Reptile does a lot of his damage in the air with his pop-ups, but Tremor doesn't have any air pop-up free-flowing assists. That gets tricky.
That's not necessarily true.
Right there, you know what I'm saying? Versus like Dragon Ball Fighters, I can show way different examples of how to make a very good assist-based game while feeling like you can play freely. Let's take a look at Dragon Ball Fighters. Assist while doing pressure and to kill my pressure going, right? But let's take Cell off block and see what happens.
All right, hold on. Wait, we need to see this. So this is him using his assist in pressure.
So you see, I just called out both assists while doing pressure and to kill my pressure going, right? But let's take Cell off block and see what happens. Okay, so now I have Cell not set to block. Let's see what happens when he gets it with an assist.
Watch it. Even though I'm not all the way watching.
As you see, Gogeta hit him and hits him to the wall, and we can now start a combo. Same thing with Blue Vegeta. Hits him, now we can start a combo. Let's see what happens if we actually just extend the combo. So we can extend our combo too. So with one move, we can keep pressure going, start a combo, and extend the combo, all with the same move. Now let's compare.
Now, so let's talk about this. This is the main part I wanted to get to because I watched this video before I reacted to it already. So this is not a live reaction. Some of my videos are going to be live reactions, but this one is not. But this is the part that made me say, I'm going to react to this. So, Mortal Kombat 1 did have a cameo that allowed you to have a whole bunch of pressure on block, right? And so you could, as a matter of fact, not only could you have pressure on block, you also had safety because you could do an unsafe move and then call this cameo out and make it safe, right? But then also on hit, if you hit the opponent, you could still call this cameo out and extend combos with that cameo. Even to the point of being able to combo from throws or having safe armored launchers and stuff like that. Y'all remember that cameo? I do. His name was Cyrax. And what happened to Cyrax? Well, before we even talk about what happened to Cyrax, what was the community reaction to Cyrax? I'm talking about pre-patch Cyrax. The community cried their fucking eyes out against that cameo. They're like, oh my god, it's Cyrax Copter. Oh my god. Every time I play Raiden, it's Raiden Cyrax. Oh, Raiden Cyrax. Oh. That's what they did. And yes, that is the way they complained in exactly that fucking voice. That's what all complaining sounds like to me. You know what I'm saying? And Cyrax was the first character that got nerfed in this game. It's now people like to cite I think it was Combo Breaker. I forget. The first tournament, first offline event for MK1. People like to cite that as the reason why Cyrax got nerfed. Hell no. Cyrax was always going to get nerfed because this nerf was prepared months in advance. Okay? But in that tournament, all we saw was the Cyrax cameo and the Kung Lao cameo being used, right? And so what happened was the Cyrax cameo was so good that it made people say, well, why even pick anything else? This cameo gives me everything with one fucking move. I don't need to pick Darius. I don't need to pick Scorpion. I don't need to pick this cameo. I don't need to pick that other cameo. This one move, and I'm talking about horizontal copter from Cyrax, is so strong and so powerful that I don't need shit else. And what happened? NRS nerfed that and damn near killed the Cyrax cameo until recently and left Kung Lao virtually untouched. And so overnight, Kung Lao became the best cameo. And now what did people do? People went to Stryker and Kano and did the same shit that they were doing with Cyrax, just a weaker version of it. And so now the Stryker grenades do the shit that the horizontal copter from Cyrax used to do. You know, they serve the same purpose as this assist right here. Well, he's not the assist, but still. So as much as I personally don't mind if a single cameo does a whole bunch of different shit at once, I know how it's going to be received. We've seen how it would be received in this community or by certain segments of this community. They're not going to have it. They are not going to have it because people are already sick to death of fighting against Johnny Cage, and that alone is the reason why they think the character is OP and needs to be nerfed. Not even because of the character's objective strengths, but because they're sick of seeing his motherfucking ass. And they think that if they see a character a lot, that must mean that he's too strong, right? That's what they did with the Cyrax cameo. And so this would actually... That's not exactly the right move. No, the right move is to make all the other cameos compelling. So to your point, LS, about why would I need to pick any of these others when this one cameo gives me everything I need? I mean, I see it. I see what you're saying. But I don't think the solution would be to super, steroid buff one cameo to where one move just does all things. That's not the move. Because then you have another Kung Lao low hat situation. That low hat is still super strong because it still offers safety on block. It still offers a built-in mix-up. It still is a combo extender for some characters. You know what I'm saying? No, what they need to do is they need to make moves more narrow, more narrowly and clearly defined. This move does this one thing, and it does that thing well. It sucks at all the other shit. And that's fine. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? Because then you use the other cameo moves for other shit that you need. If you make one cameo move too good, then people will only pick that cameo for that single move. And that's how we have the Kung Lao low hat shit. This low hat meta is the low hat meta because low hat is so good. It does so much shit. It has so much utility packed into one move that you don't even need the Kung Lao spin. You don't need the teleport. For what? And give up that low hat? Shit. But I really don't have too much to say about everything else. I don't think cameos are devastating. I don't even think he does either. I just think that, there can definitely be more work done to make characters less cameo reliant. And I think that would be a good move on NRF's behalf, is to buff the actual characters so that they don't need the cameo so damn much. You know what I'm saying? And then with the cameos, you can buff some of them as well. Buff the ones that barely get used. Make the utility much more. And, reduce some of the costs of some of them shits because, like Sector's EX homing missile, the one that just tracks, you don't see it because it's too fucking expensive for what it is. It's too expensive. That move's not so damn good that it just needs to take your whole fucking bar. It's not that good. It's not that good. Same thing with Darius. Darius' spin kick is not so good that it has to take your whole bar, bruh. It just don't. It just don't. And here's the thing. I don't use Sector. I don't use Darius. Probably, but I might use Darius if spin kick didn't cost the whole goddamn bar. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Goro. The Goro up punch. Shit takes too long to come back, man. One of the reasons that Chameleon is so good as a cameo is that her shit is usable. You can use her moves all the time. And she's got 6 of them. Well, more than that, but still. She's got 6 of them. All of them are compelling for one reason or another. And you always have access to them. Even when they switch over. When you switch over to Melina, chances are you can use a Melina move. Right? By the time you get to Jade, you probably can use Jade. You see what I'm saying? That's the approach they need to take with all the cameos, making sure that you can use the motherfuckers when you're ready to use them. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I I didn't fully disagree with LS Vision. I didn't fully agree. This was not meant to be some sort of rebuttal or gotcha or tear down or nothing like that to LS Vision. As you can see, I'm a subscriber. I fuck with his content. You know what I'm saying? So this is not meant to be used in any sort of disrespectful fashion. This is just adding another perspective. You see what I'm saying? And that's what this channel is all about, being objective, adding perspective. Ooh, I like that. I might use that. But anyway, I'll catch y'all later. One.